Welcome back to Speak Up Queen, the podcast where we empower, uplift, and celebrate women who have reclaimed their voices to inspire others. Today, we are honored to welcome the dynamic and accomplished Dr. Letitia Wright to the show. Dr. Wright is the executive producer and host of Right Place TV. This groundbreaking program has been running for over 22 years and now reaches over 6.5 million homes across Southern California and beyond. Formerly a chiropractor, Dr. Wright transitioned into the media world where she has made an incredible mark as a trailblazer. As one of America's top 100 crowdfunding experts, Dr. Wright is dedicated to empowering women and minority-owned businesses by putting funding and resources directly into their hands. Her global impact has earned her accolades from organizations like the All Ladies League, the Women's Economic Forum, and the WAVE Initiative in Holland. So let's welcome the trailblazing Dr. Letitia Wright to Speak Up Queen.
Thank you so much. You are so generous. I appreciate it. It's fun to be here.
Dr. Wright, what was the most challenging limiting belief you had to overcome, and how did breaking free from it help you reclaim your voice?
The most limiting belief that I've had in my life is that you can't do it. Um, you want to do something, you see how it's, you see other people doing it, but somehow you've got something wrong where I can't do it because I don't have the money, the connections, the this, the. That is a very, very limiting belief because it keeps you from exploring how you can do it, but do it differently. So there are a lot of people that, oh, they wanted to have a show like Oprah. And the way that she did it is she was the talent, she was brought on, she had agents when she first started, but then she gradually over time, it became her show and she began to run everything. So now people are looking at it from her 25-year reign and going, I want to do a show like that. And I would ask them, do you want to be a producer, book the people, all the things that you do for your podcast? It's the whole thing, right? Book the people, schedule, do, all of that. And do they want to do that? Or do they just want to be this talent that comes and sits in a chair? And those are two different things. And they take not two different sets of talents, but the talents are focused differently. And so having an opportunity to really understand that I can do it, but I can do it differently. In other words, I can get there, but I'm not going to take the same path as Oprah or the same path as somebody else. And so once you get to the point where you can release that limiting belief, it is very easy to release all the rest.
Thank you for sharing that. It's incredible how much strength it takes to challenge those deeply limiting beliefs. I'm sure so many listening today can really relate to the courage it takes to break free from a limiting beliefs. Can you share a moment when someone's words or actions made you feel small and how you found the strength to rise above it?
Well, I am Dr. Wright because I am a physician and I was still practicing, and my practice was really struggling. And I knew how to be a good doctor. I just didn't know how you got the patients and how you process the money and how you process your insurance claims. And I didn't know any of that. And I didn't have a mentor to help me. And so I had asked a lot of doctors. I had asked, they were all like, no, no, no. And my last resort was I made an application to a business company, a business that what they do is they come and coach you and help you figure out what's going wrong. And so I put in my application and they called and I got really excited. So I got my pen and I got my paper and I was like ready to write down because they're going to, tell me when the consultant's going to come and what's the schedule and what's going on. And the woman said, Dr. Wright, we've looked at your application and you don't make enough money to be one of our clients.
Wow.
I was devastated. That was my last thing. It's like, yeah, I know I'm not making money. That's why I'm calling you. So when that was really just a blow. That was it because my practice was struggling too hard. I was running out of energy. And I said, okay, it's time to close it down. So I was also had just started Right Place TV show at that time. And I enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun. And I had recently gotten a very nice sponsorship payment, very large sponsorship payment. And so I sat my family down And I said, I'm going to close my practice and I'm just going to focus on TV because I just can't work through the struggle anymore. And they were very quiet. Now, my family is a very supportive family. We try to support each other, try to be there, try to, they're going to, if you tell them, your goal is to run a marathon, they're going to be out there like, hey, did you run today? They're going to be cheering you on. They were very quiet. But I said, they probably think I'm having a mental breakdown. So, it was like, they let me go. And, nobody gave me flack about it. And I quietly shut down my practice and I started working more and more on TV, which became profitable in just 3 years. So, and it wasn't the struggle, it wasn't the devastation, it wasn't that. And so that hurt a lot, but it put me on the right path for what I should be doing.
Wow, what an inspiring way to turn something painful into a moment of growth. It's just a reminder that our resilience is often found in those difficult moments when we don't have a choice. We just need to grow. It's like we don't have a choice. It's time to grow. Um, what safety resources, spaces, or tools have been most impactful for your healing journey?
Safety resources, I would say making sure that your tight inner circle, I call it the fist, that you have 5 people that you can depend on. Like the 5 people, you can call them up and say, hey, I need you to help me bury the body. And they're not going to ask you any questions. They're not going to say what happened. They're just going to be like, where do you need me to be? Those 5 people. So the thing is, have 5. And what you do is you check in with those 5 people on your birthday because they're going to wish you happy birthday, right? They're close to you. They're going to say happy birthday. And you're going to say, thank you so much. I just want to check in with you. You're one of my top 5, that you're going to be there for me when I call, no questions asked. Can you still be that person? Because what you want to do is you want to check in with your top 5 and you want to make sure that they're okay. When my parents were 2 of the top 5 and they passed away, I had to replace them. When one of my top 5 was going through cancer treatment, I had to replace her. Not that she was less to me, but just so that I understood she's going through some things. She doesn't have the resources to give to me. So you always check in with your top 5 and you make sure they're okay for the next year. You do it on your birthday. So that is one way to make sure that you have internal support. It's great to have awards. It's great for people in the world to be clapping, but your own little protective circle that you can go to and they're going to hold you up when you're having a tough moment is really important. And I think it's even more important now because I feel like the world is a lot more spicy in 2022, 2024, and 2025 than it was 20 years ago when I started doing Right Place TV. I feel like the world was way more spicy. So you really want to have that close knit support that's about you, not about what you do, not about how much money you make, just you. And once you have that, then you can grow, your circles and be in safety and company and be around people who are supporting what you're doing, not pretending to support what you're doing.
Well, yesterday was my birthday, so today I'm really going to take on your advice and reach out to them because that really makes more sense about finding out how they are. I just love hearing about resources and tools that have helped you. It is so important for others to know that they don't have to walk this path alone. There is really support everywhere.
Yes. And you don't get upset if they say no, I'm really, I'm having a hard time, or no, I'm not in that headspace. They still love you. They're just being honest about what they have to give. And you always keep 5. So if something happens to one, you immediately start talking to other people that you feel could fill that role for you. But that will give you so much boldness and strength. And just when you go out to do what you need to do, you feel so much secure.
What was the first step you took to move from feeling silence to finding your voice? And how did that step change your life?
I think I grew up in a very small school, and I had a teacher who, and I was one of the older children. A lot of the children in the school were younger than me, so I didn't have playmates. My one of my teachers, I still talk to her today, and she says, "Oh, you used to be so quiet and used to read all the time. I'm thinking to myself, because I had nobody to play with, like there's nothing else to do for me but read. I'm not going to play with a 6-year-old. So one of the things is that one of my teachers started coaching me for Sora Optimist speech contest. I could write whatever I wanted and I could do the speech. And the speech was very, very militant at the time. It was like not the Sora Optimist theme. It was sort of like, this is wrong and that is wrong and we need to fix this and we need to fix that in the country. But, she just encouraged me. I totally lost. That's fine. But she just encouraged me. And I just really, I found my voice when I did that contest. Did not win, did not even place. Those people didn't even want to see me. I was the only person of brown skin in there. They definitely did not care about the issues I was thinking about. But that whole experience of practicing and doing it and seeing their responses and just being like, okay with this is what I'm saying, and you can respond any way you want to. I really found my voice. So I found my voice very, very young.
That first step is always the hardest step, and it's amazing to see how it creates a ripple effect in your life. Your story is really such a testament to the power of taking that leap and just doing it anyway. And the feedback, like there's only feedback. There's no failure. It's just feedback. Yeah. What's one powerful lesson you've learned about self-worth, and how do you carry it with you as you continue to grow and inspire others?
I think that we have to all of us have to constantly work on our self worth, our self love. It starts with you loving who you are first. Then, when you go out, you're a little bit invincible because you don't need it from somebody else. You can give to another person, and that's where you want to be. You want to be overflowing and serving from your overflow rather than getting out there and trying to do this and trying to do that and trying to get. So I think that we downplay working out of self-love. We tell ourselves we love ourselves, but sometimes we'll skimp on things that you don't have to skimp on. Have you bought the cheapest socks because okay, they were the cheapest socks, even though technically, you know what, you can afford to buy yourself these cozy socks that you really like, but you're going to go ahead and buy the $2 socks because what, because you don't deserve cozy socks. Like little things like that where you can catch, are you really loving yourself? Because you have the extra $5 for the cozy socks. You're not going to die. No bills are going to get missed. Buy those socks. If they make your feet just, I love socks. They make your feet just feel great, or whatever your thing is. And it doesn't have to be buying things either. Some people just, their self care. Are you caring for yourself? Little things. Are you keeping your skin smooth and lotioned? Are you relaxing? Are you giving yourself enough sleep? If your body was another person, would it say, she treats me well? Are you feeding it? Are you saying, you know what, you're too fat, you don't deserve any food? You're not a size 10, so you don't deserve anything to eat. Is that, you see what I'm saying? The deservability, the loving of yourself is something that we have to constantly be vigilant against, because all the media, all the TV, all the stuff is telling you you're not good enough, you're not pretty enough, you're not tall enough, you're not thin enough, you're not smart enough, you're not. And so you have to be very, very careful. It's very subtle. It's very undertones. It's incredibly, you know, can be incredibly narcissistic. So you want to love yourself first and find little ways to love yourself, little things that you like. If you like chocolate, great. You can have a piece of chocolate a day. Now, you don't have to eat 10 chocolate bars and say, this is loving myself, but you can say, hey, I like to have time to read. I want an hour to myself with nobody talking to me, nobody bothering me, and love yourself enough to carve out that time. Let your family know what's going on. Hey, I'm reading. This is my hour to read. Please don't interrupt me. This is just my time. And then when you come out, you have so much more to give. So I used to poo-poo, self-love, self-love. Yeah, sure, whatever. I know I deserve it. I know I'm a queen. But then you look at how you are treating yourself. If I get a hole in my underwear, I just throw it away. If I see the hole, once I see the hole, that's it. The underwear's gone. not because you couldn't still wear it with a hole in there, but because I know I deserve that. Number one. Number two, they don't cost that much. I'm not spending $1 million. I'm not buying, I'm not throwing away Victoria's Secret underwear. But, just like stop being petty with yourself. Stop being petty to yourself.
That's such a profound lesson. It's what, and it's one I think we all need to remind ourselves. Self-worth truly changes everything. It just really does. Look,
Absolutely.
if you could tell your 17-year-old self one thing, what would it be and why?
Um, my 17-year-old self was in Denmark as an exchange student. And my 17-year-old self was then coming, back to America. And I think I would, tell my 17-year-old self that when your elders are getting older, they need a different level of attention from you. I don't have a lot of regrets. I was there when both my parents passed, but I wish I had prepared just a little bit more. I wish I had prepared a little bit more. And my 17-year-old self was already like quite a traveler. I'd, been many, many places, and I've continued to travel around the world. Um, but there was just a lot of um, opportunities. I think because I had been living in Europe and then coming back to America, I, I had to go through some changes and stuff. And I would tell my 17-year-old self to relax. And you don't have to make all these decisions right now. And you don't have to be so. I was very wound up and very much got a plan and got to do this. And so I thought a lot was expected of me, and I wanted to live up to that. I would tell my 17-year-old self to relax, go have some fun.
Fun is definitely part of everything. You have to have fun while you are doing it, but that's something that I feel like from a young age has been taken away. Stop, you need to behave this way. Be quiet and sit still. And we lose that part of ourselves, the fun, childish, just crazy child, your inner child of us. Um, and that's something that I really start now in my healing journey is to have fun. Um, laugh more about silly things. Laugh at myself when I make mistakes. Because when I was a child, it was you couldn't laugh at yourself. It was a mistake, and you were punished for mistakes. So now it's just learning that you know what? I'm healing that inner child of mine. If I'm going to go crazy, I'm going to go crazy big time. I am. It's just we only live once. We die once, but we live in the moment. There is like we need to just embrace everything that is coming our way. Like seriously, I wish that women out there could know that they only have now. The past is behind us. We can't do anything about it anymore. The future is a promise. We don't know what's going to hold. But it's just in this moment where me and you are talking. This is the moment we are living. And this is the moment when we can decide, or it's enough. Today is the time that now is the time that I'm going to start my healing journey. I'm going to reach out to people. I'm actually getting chicken pox all over my body while I'm speaking. Sorry. But it's just, that's my wish for Speak Up Queen is for women by the end of this December so that they can go into 2025 knowing that there's a safe space where women is, oh my word, it is like so impactful and so special to me. I said to my husband, I've got a little bit of trauma on my bum and on my stomach. While I'm speaking to you ladies, I'm healing it and I'm losing kilos. I'm like, I am losing kilos because it's just,
Absolutely.
it is really,
And you can love, you can love your body enough to say, hey, I know you've been putting this on to protect us, but I'm focused now and I will protect us. So you don't have to hold on to all of this. You can let it go. I will protect us, and promise yourself that you will protect yourself and keep that promise. When people come for you, stand up and say, oh no, 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 not here. You do this with somebody else.
That is going to be the next question. How do you set boundaries to protect your energy and peace? And what have you learned from this practice?
Well, you have to set boundaries. You do have to have boundaries. In other words, you know how much you can take. If you're not a person who can stay up late, don't make commitments that make you stay up late. If you're not a person, and I don't, getting up early and getting up late to me has nothing to do with success. It has to do with your personal body and how you are. God made you how you are. If you're a night owl, then you need to do things where you don't have to do them early in the morning. If you're an early bird like me, then, between 6 a.m. and 12, I am on fire. Now, 3 to 6, it gets a little lower, and then 7 to 10, I mean, I'm just, I'm, I have to take a nap to be great. But you want to really know for yourself what you need. That is the boundary. You don't have to go to someone else and say, girl, don't you call me at 9 o'clock because I'm not up. I don't have to say that. I just have to know what my boundaries are. And then when you say, hey, when I call you, it's going to be 9 o'clock your time. Is that okay? Instead of saying, yeah, that's okay, say, no, I'm really sleepy by that time. I'm not fresh anymore. I'm not going to, it's not going to be a good call. Can we arrange it? And so boundaries are about what works for you and what does not work for you. That goes for your business, that goes for your relationships, that goes for whatever you're doing. If you're going to play cards, there's some people. Okay, I went to the movies with she wasn't a friend, she was an acquaintance of the family. I was going to go see this scary movie, and I don't even remember what the movie was, but she was one of those people that screams and clutches the person next to her the whole movie. And I was like, oh my God, I can't even enjoy this movie because this crazy woman I brought to the movies is screaming and it was terrible. So the boundary could have been, hey, are you into scary movies? Do you like them? How do you act? I mean, if there's a surprise, sure, but not the entire movie. You're not surprised the entire movie. It's a scary movie. So getting your boundaries is important, but just knowing yourself, loving yourself, working around what works for you, that's where the boundaries begin. Then when you say no, you know why you're saying no. You're saying no not because you just don't want to be bothered, although you can do that too, but because there's a reason behind it. That doesn't work for you. That's not what you eat. That's not when you eat. That's not, I eat at certain times of the day. And so when people are like, yeah, well, in 2 hours we're going to go eat, I'm like, no, I'm going to go find something now because I won't be any good in 2 hours. So you have to know yourself. That is where you begin boundaries. And then they're easily kept because as soon as someone breaks the boundary, you say, no, we can't do that. And the person who says, no, your boundaries, they're too strict or they're too this or they're too that, they're yours. They're yours. That's like saying your eyeball is too whatever. This is my eyeball. What you going to do about that? Nothing. So that's where it starts and that's how you keep it. Is that helpful?
Yes, definitely. Boundaries is really just an act of self-love. It is just going in, it's just a way to protect our peace. And it's really essential for us, especially as women, to say, you know what, I don't feel safe with you around. And the I think sometimes when I started my healing journey, I didn't know about boundaries. I was people pleasing myself all over the world, even though my body was telling me, oh, don't trust this person or don't put yourself again. I mean, your gut is like, you can feel it in your body when something is like, oh, I don't know. I really want to go, but let me just go. But when you are, like you said, when you are having boundaries, it is like, and the thing for me was, I was so scared to put it up because I was afraid of losing people. But instead,
Right, because a lot of people are teaching, especially if you're a younger woman. A lot of people that we look up to are teaching, say yes to everything, say yes to everything, and then there'll be a phase where you can say no. But right now, say yes to everything. That is the worst. That is the worst advice, and it always comes from people who already have everything. They have everything. So they don't have to say yes or no to anything because number one, everything they want is being offered to them. Number two, they already have what they want. If they want something, they can go get it. So they're telling people, say, oh, you say yes to everything, keep all the doors open. Well, nobody has infinite energy. Nobody has infinite knowledge. Nobody has infinite connections. Okay. The money, yes, money can come and go. And I'm not saying you can't be young and have lots and lots of money. But the thing is that you're exhausted, you're not sharp enough to be able to make decisions, make sure that things are going the way they should in your life. And so I think that's what you were going on is that somebody said, hey, there's so many opportunities, don't say no because you might miss out on the best thing ever. That is the number one slide to um, exhaustion. One of my favorite television producers, she's produced the best TV shows. She's the producer of Bridgerton. Everybody in America loves Bridgerton. She's the one that created it. She's the one that wrote most of the script. I mean, she's that person. But she wrote a book years ago called The Year of Yes. And she said, in this year, I'm going to say yes to everything. It sounds like a beautiful story, but the thing is, she was already wealthy. She was already on the, had just ended a great series. She is there's nothing that she needed. So saying yes for her is different than someone who is low on resources, low on cash. You have time to trade, but you want to make sure you leverage that time for something good for you. And most people are just trying to suck up your time and your energy and not give you anything back. That my year of yes was not for the average person. It was for women who were already established and had money because when you're at that point and you say yes to everything that happens in your life, yes, beautiful things do happen. But when you're out of resources and you're a little bit desperate, sometimes you're like, oh, I better take this because I don't know when this is going to come. Then that's when people can take advantage of you.
And the thing is, for me, it was so many people respect you for saying, you know what, I don't like the way you're treating me. Because sometimes we are just in our heads and we are just running the show and we don't know how we are behaving towards someone. We think it's okay if we treat or speak to them in a certain way. But when you say, you know, I don't like the way you're treating me, some people, oh, well, some people are going to love you and they're going to leave you, which is good. But some people is really going to respect you. And I was like, whoa, I should have done it earlier in my life. I should have said, I don't like.
We we all have some situation where we should have said earlier, So 2020 is hindsight. You have the history and you have the knowledge now, but now you don't even have to go into those situations when they are presented to you. You can immediately go down the list and go, so this is helping you, and this is helping you, and this is helping you. Where does it help me? And I used to have people tell me, well, next time it's going to be you. There was never any next time. So make an equity situation now. In other words, split the pie 4 ways, not split the pie 3 ways. And when we see you next time, we'll cut you in for the pie. It doesn't work like that.
How do you stay grounded when challenges comes up now compared to before?
Um, Really just thinking that all of the problems are a bigger form of problem that I had before. When I was first doing television, I had one guest that didn't show up. Oh, that was a problem. What do I do with that segment? Blah, blah, blah. Then 2 years later, I had a show where none of the guests showed up. This was this was before I was at the point where I could just do a show. Like I can just do a show now. If nobody shows up, I can do a whole 30-minute show, make it interesting and keep it pushing. But and I had invited my parents, and my parents are sitting there like they were very great. But I was just almost having a nervous breakdown. I was like, I can't believe I got all this stuff ready now, and nobody showed up. So it's the same problem. What did I do when the first person didn't show up to fix that? Oh, I didn't do anything. I just shoved it off and said they were a jerk. Then it grew. So you see what I'm saying? So every problem that you have, if you come up with a solution, when you find it again, you have a better solution. So the solution was, okay, we send out letters, we send out reminders. Now this is in, 20, no, this is in 2005 and 6. So there's no emails going out. There's no reminder email. There's none of that, you know. So I had to make phone calls. I had to schedule myself to make phone calls and remind people and give them the instructions and make sure they knew where to go. And so because my studio and my office were in two different places, and I don't put my studio address out there because you don't want it out there. I learned that from Babyface. You have two separate things, and he has a studio called Brandon Works in Los Angeles, and that's not where his business office is. So it's two different things. And so you put a system into place. And so when things are going wrong, you build a system to combat that. And then as you grow the system. So now we have emails. Now we have all this stuff. So I think just remembering that this is a version of a problem that I had before. If I sit back and think about that problem and think about how I would have solved that, I can make it bigger to solve the current problem. That's what stays me grounded, is really working on it and not just feeling it and feeling overwhelmed, but also putting some action behind it.
Yeah. I just love it. Because I mean, I've started this podcast really 3 weeks ago. I started from scratch. I didn't know anything, and I'm just still doing it. And some speakers just didn't show up, and I was like, well, I can decide to just, like you said, close it off, leave it. And I was like, oh no, I've dressed up for this. I'm going to record myself. I'm going to publish. I said 100 episodes by the end of 2024. It needs to be done. And I was like, no. And then I had to send out reminders and say, please respect each other's time. And so many women came back and said, Marika, you are right. Because we are struggling with saying to someone, for speakers, they need to show up and respect. I was like, but that is something we needed to learn. It didn't come just, I mean, 5 years ago when I started my LinkedIn, I would just say, oh, what's wrong with me? What happened? Why don't they? Now I'm like, nah, we are showing up as super speak up queens. We are, but it does take time. It doesn't just come naturally. It comes naturally, but it's been silent for such a long time. But when you are on this healing journey, it's just like, you are learning things about yourself that it's just, I wish really that each woman out there could know their worth, that they know that, oh my word, there's no one else like you. Just showing up as yourself, it's just really amazing. And when you are in a situation or put in a situation where someone doesn't show up, you know that it's nothing to do with you. It is just life happens. Sometimes life really happens and people can't show up in your life. But just know that it's okay. It's just, no, it's nothing wrong with you. Just go on. Like you're living just right now. Just live in the moment. Yeah. Dr. Wright, how do you define thriving today, and what mindset shifts or practices help you embrace that definition?
Thriving today? Thriving? Okay. That's a good question. I haven't thought about that in a while. I think thriving today for me means to be happy and to be healthy. In this, my birthday was in September, so I'm doing the evaluation just like thinking about how you want to be healthy wise, and I'm in a different space than I was as of today, than I've been for the last 30 years. And so a different physical space. And I realized that in this new physical space, I feel very healthy. I feel better. I feel less aches and pains. I'm sleeping better. I'm more relaxed. And so really just looking at everything and making the changes how you need it. One of the things that I discovered about myself, because I had peace of mind to figure it out. One of the things I discovered about myself is that I worry a lot more than I thought. And I worry and disguise it as planning. So I say, oh, I'm not worrying. I'm planning. I'm a firstborn daughter. I'm the oldest. I'm the Virgo. I'm a I'm a boss woman. I'm just planning. Underneath that was really worry. It wasn't planning, because you can let things just resolve themselves. You can watch a situation and do nothing. Now, many times it's, you have an answer for it, but sometimes when you're looking at something and you just don't have an answer for it, you could say, I'm just going to sit back and see what happens. And when you constantly have to have a plan, is because you're worried, not because you're smart and using your resources. And so I really got a chance to, spend some time meditating and distinguish between the fact that I was worrying and covering up with planning. So I'm not doing that so much now. I see people headed toward the cliff. I don't worry about them. I don't run to block them. I'm into the, hey, you love it, you like it, I love it. Do what you want. Some of those lessons are for other people to learn. I don't need to be there to prevent them. But when you release all of that and you release all this responsibility for other people, you start to heal, you start to feel better. And I think that's what thriving is.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. The last question before we finish. What made you decide to be featured on Speak Up Queen, and how does it feel knowing that this is a safe space for women to share their stories and inspire others?
Well, I wanted to be here because it is a safe space for women. And I know that you're making a safe space for women, and there are other women making safe spaces for women, but it's still not a lot. And it's definitely not enough. And so if I can contribute to helping you build something that I know women need, then I want to be there and I want to be part of it. And I want to thank Brooke Young for letting me know about your podcast, because she's really the one that encouraged me and said, all the cool stuff that you're doing, that you're pointing towards, that you're going, and that this is totally in line with what I'm doing. I'm in a pivot. I call it the pivot, the pleasure of the pivot. And so as I pivot to really make sure communities are doing well, this is part of your podcast is part of what I want to do.
Wow. My cup is full. I love, yeah, it's just thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for sharing your incredible journey with us today. Your story is a testament to the strength, the resilience, and the courage it takes to not only heal, but to thrive. To everyone listening, remember that your voice matters, your story matters, and together we can inspire change. So if today's episode touched your heart, please subscribe, leave a comment, and share this with someone who really needs to hear it. So until next time, Queens, keep speaking up and stepping into your power, and much light to all of you.